Okay, so Susan's Phoenix cards. If I haven't mentioned it already, Susan, I think I probably mentioned it at the beginning that she had to leave this world for the other dimension, or she might be coming back into it, I'm not sure. Last April 19th. So coming up for the 1-year anniversary of her well, yeah, I'm going to say untimely death. But one thing before I get into all the traditionalism, the root work of this particular card, I want to just, we were just there, yeah? But just to backtrack, look at the colors. They are exactly the same colors. There's even in this bottom here, it lightens into a brown, okay? So this yellow, blue, green, white moon, yes, but very much the same. Even the orange here is repeated down in the dots here, okay? So don't you just love it when they work the magic this way? Because I want to put the emphasis back. This is going to support this freedom. The completion of whatever you've been working on, the completion, the 10 wands, and the patting yourself on the back, and the bravery and the courage, right? And all of this emphasis, if we go back to the wild Kuan Yin, of everything appearing to back build, appearing to go backwards, appearing to take you away from the finish line when it actually is the finish line. All right. So I will read without commentary. Usually I get into commentary, but for time's sake, I'll hold that card up and I'll just read what Susan does. I've mentioned it. So she does, I'll show you the layout. Okay. This is how she does it. So why Jupiter? Now, why didn't I realize Jupiter as well until now? I've been working with these cards for a while now. Always notice the Mars, but that's typical. Okay, so for me, the sun position are your triggers and your instincts. So right now, and the sun's in Pisces, so to connect or not to connect. Oh, and of course, well, no, hang on. Some slight commentary maybe, but if I turn to the right page. The Jukuna Kuma mask in the sun position, you're becoming more intensely aware of building a foundation. This is if it resonates, right? They won't all resonate. Building a foundation for the rest of your life. Traditional values seem worthy of your respect. Well, you're Capricorn, of course. But you're weary of the tentative or free-floating feelings of the last few years. You're weary of the tentative or free-floating feelings of the last few years. In order for a tree to flower and grow, well, we've got that root system there, that tree, it must have strong roots. This is a good time to search out the wisdom of your parents or ancestors. Although mistakes may have been made, now's the time to break the cycle of negativity and wipe the slate clean. Learn to reconcile the conflicting forces inside you. Without paradox, truth cannot be found. And I would say, if it's about switching, or it's about realizing you're on somebody else's team, then you have to reconcile yourself with who you are. Know that there are some ancestors that are on your side. And basically release. The other ones will always be attacking you, because that's what they are enslaved to. But you don't have, you know, you can start to like, it's just, yeah, you can tell them to fuck off is what you can do. You can fight back. It's hard to know how to fight back when you don't know who you're fighting against. But when you embrace the new, with this ace, when you embrace these other ancestors, right? Yeah, then the games, not the games, then the strength comes in. Yes, but you have to know, you need the grounding of knowing who they are. And I will say that if it's the Orisha, I don't want to, not everybody in Nigeria is going to follow the Orisha, but we've got the Pythoness, so Kali, for, you know, I can get fairly specific. All right, I said no commentary, right? Moon position, your conscience. Okay. In Vedic astrology, it would be how your mind works for them. They go by what your moon position is rather than your sun position. But for me, it's your conscience. So what's going to pull you in, possibly screw you over. There's a strong need to seclude yourself. You may get a strange, lonely, resonant, and distant feeling about others during this period. So often happens for Capricorn, as well as Scorpio. Your family calls upon you for help, but you feel compelled to retreat. Your soul radiates the impression you must be alone. However, it's most important, flip the page, right now, for you to immerse yourself in being a member of your tribe. And I would say it's saying, yes, it's okay to, it's all about going into these other tribes. There's this huge release there. That's what I would say. In the Mercury position, your mind, imagination, all your creative problem-solving skills. You're now showing interest in personal history and family traditions. You seek to evaluate the wisdom and learning of those who have gone before you. The mind takes an inward turn and you're focusing on your own point of view. It's hard for you to understand the depth and complexity of your feelings. It seems as if the actions of your mind and heart are unrelated. To solve this problem, it would be beneficial to turn your attention back to the interests you held as a small child. Here's where your heart and mind will find harmony and truth. Now, is that true? I have to, given everything we're looking at here, you've already done that, is what it must be. If there's completion of a huge project here, or understanding, or cycle. But that's where that's where to anchor yourself for sure. When we get into the Nine of Swords, let me see if I can point to it successfully there with that anchor. When we're in Aquarius energy, that's very much childhood energy. Because the story of Aquarius, Ganymede, is everything to do. Not that everything is relevant, is set to Greek and Roman stories. Of course, everything predates that. But sometimes the eye in the sky, the master architect likes to plant the stories, in the future, make us work backwards for them. There's a stolen child. Same as in Aries. Sacrifice children in Aries. A living sacrifice in Aquarius with Ganymede, who becomes the sex traffic. That it's not sex if you're a child. But Zeus takes him as Aquila, the eagle, comes down, and the dad says, sure, have him, right? So it's like Aquarius and Pisces are these two houses where everything completes in Capricornus, yes. And then there are I would say, purgatory houses of the childhood of the spirit, where we go back into regenesis or Genesis. And it's a question of, are we slaves outside this planet that are sent back in slavery? Did we get kidnapped? What's the deal, right? The pure innocence, absolutely. So there is, you're reaching that, and then the ace, the coming back in through Aries. Okay, let's see here. So, again, yeah, your interest that held you as a small child. If that's aligning, now the Venus position. Get this going again. Yeah, my battery can't hold a charge anymore. How about yours? You're feeling the need to maintain a long-standing, secure relationship. Choosing the Jukunakuma mask indicates a period of settling in. You've become tired of the chase. You currently desire a relationship that's more secure and substantial. You're beginning to put things in order. Intimate involvements will be approached with more depth and stability than passion right now. Be careful not to smother your mate, child, or friend. At this time, give them room. Everyone will appreciate it in the long run. Now watch out for the triggers around that. If anybody is inclined towards triggering you, that could very much possibly be a situation where it's made to look like you're smothering and you're not. You're being triggered and you have to choose not to react. Now, in the Saturn position, so fears, boundaries, calculated risks as far as I'm concerned. It's important that you define your objectives and ambitions. Well, you need help with that. You can sense the need for a new order in your home environment and may feel an obligation to family members. This is a good time to build a strong foundation and recognize the true intent of your past motives. You may feel as though you've been living in a dream world for the past 2 or 3 years. The sad, wistful feeling you are experiencing will soon come to an end. Avoid the temptation to put things off. It's possible to waste your entire life in procrastination. If that is the connecting with the fear, if there is fear from that freedom card and everything else of really finishing this thing, this commitment, this ring, yes, this commitment over there, that Ace of Wands with the ring over there, and this key with those 8 pentacles, proving yourself to yourself. That's speaking to that, I believe. The fear, you're going to have to take it very gently with yourself then. Just progress. One thing, do it. To-do list, whatever helps. That's what I'm doing. And it's progress. It's allowing, for me, it's just allowing that it is what it is. It's that hard. And just like with a child, all you can do is say, hey, what can we get done now? How much pressure do you put on a child without breaking? So don't put more pressure on yourself than you would put on a child. Because the child needs coaxing sometimes. If the child isn't sure and keen and jumping into it, or the child hits a road bump, yeah, and then doesn't know, just doesn't have the life experience, or, you know, it's just a thing, or the child has trauma. Life is trauma. So then, no, just don't put more pressure on yourself than you would on a child. You'll get there faster. In the Uranus position, so for me, that's your areas of nonconformity. So that would speak directly to this card for me over here. All of this wonderful energy of this new energy. Be careful of people who try to milk your pity. This card selection recalls a past life where you were physically enslaved or owned by another person or group. Your particular genius, speaking of, wrong card. I looked back. Okay, your particular genius is an inordinately sensitive intuition, psychic connection, but also huge brain power that can be used for healing. Okay, so psychic healing. Magic hands. You may be going, that would be in a hostile, that would be in Virgo constellation. Again, so there we go. Okay, so there we go with the Prima Virgo star connection. The 5. Yeah. The 5 pentacles down there. Healing. It's going to be past that. It's going to be the 6 of Pentacles. But it's taking me to the medical. It's taking me, yes, okay. Healing, but they're not, I mean, well, healing is healing. You may be going through a period of necessary emotional distress. Try not to be so vulnerable. Your enemies, your ancestors know. They always know when you're going through a phase, when you're going through a process, and that's when they kick in because they've got that energetic connection to you. So they know how to trigger family situations And that's what their assignments are. So that's why other tribes, not why, but, okay, finally in the Pluto position, for me, your Pluto, all about your professional guides. But in order to know exactly, like you need, well, anyway, same as anything, you need an exact chart. Okay. Now it's time to get in touch with your more primitive and direct feelings. Oh, okay. Hence the dance at the beginning. I don't mean it to be primitive. I mean it to be like so strong. I'm guessing that's what she means by primitive. I know it's a problem word. But she's using it primal. I think what she wants to say is, I don't know if that's better. The no BS factor. Let's say that. Direct feelings. This card position shows a need for a period of self-nurturing. You have, I just want to say Susan Shepherd is Aboriginal herself. You have a poetic, exquisitely sensitive imagination. You yearn for a life of beauty and elegance. It's likely that you're experiencing problems with early attachments or outworn attitudes. And the a-holes connected to them. Family life demands your attention, but take the time to nourish the child within. Absolutely. So it's interesting. In some positions, it's calling you to be connected to the family, to answer to them. I would say there are other families, and that's really exciting for me. It's so amazing to have the primary connections be from the spirit world. Other ancestors, absolutely. Is there anything else? I forgot to say, well, I think all meant to be, what I'm going to do now is, what I would have said at the beginning is I'm finishing up, I'm in the last, well, I've got one more month to go in this book of mine, and it should say Pink Spider. Okay, so I'm just going to do about a walkthrough through this book. It goes through all the houses. I've run out of battery. Thank you so much, Capricorn. I will be back soon. Much love and good luck with everything. Congratulations. Yeah, this will be, I might take a year off, but I'm not sure. I can make a copy of this for you anytime. It goes through all the signs, constellations, Nakshatras. Yeah, anyway, so that's about a half-hour walkthrough. If you're interested, it's going to follow right now. Much love, Capricorn. Take excellent care. Thank you so much for this. And welcome to your new family. They have been with you all along. Bye. So, my thing is I created, well, I didn't even know I was going to be making this a couple of years ago. This is the third book in a series. Second to be published, but third to be created in a series that I call A Year From Here. The original was meant to get everybody off the wheel, and then as soon as I finished that book and published it, my guides said, no, we're going to actually work with the wheel now. And here you're going into astrology. So they brought me into astrology last thing, which brought me full circle with my childhood, made me happier than anything. But really what it's all about is a very intense, basically it's a science experiment, but it's exciting because it's not, it pulls in your guides. It's 13 months. We do an overlap, okay? And then you just experience each of the houses. We go from 8th house to 4th house to 12th house and create the balance and the pace, yes? Then we get into air, and I have modified the order of air and earth energies, cardinal, fixed, and mutable, to match the houses. So, and it's totally been proven. I've got it all. This isn't printed ahead of time. This is all the work that I've done, okay, over the past 10 months, filling it all in. We go through air, and how they organized it. They told me how to structure this because they work it in time. The way they orchestrate it with the energies, the overlap, like, because we start with 8th house in April, so there's the overlap of Aries, yes.
And by the time we hit Virgo, and what we do, like we get, you find out, you get your balance in the 8th house and the 4th house and the 12th house, okay? Your balance, your speed, your pace, your sense of emotional range, okay? Then we get into your roots, what you know, who's communicating with you, who you're connected to. You would think that would happen in the water signs, but it actually happens in the air signs. The path to God. You keep a photo diary. Okay. Now, I did a really good job of being dedicated to the photo diary in the first few months. By the time we hit air, it was overwhelming and I could barely keep up with it. So I have to go back and finish photo diaries for that. But I'll walk you through the pages. We work with the numerology of it. As you can see here, I've got everything listed, and then we check to see if it's been fulfilling, and absolutely. And because I use 2 house systems, and because I use tropical and sidereal, and then of course the nakshatra, we've layered it all. When I published this the first time, I was doing it without the nakshatra. About halfway through, or sooner than that, then there was no ignoring the nakshatras anymore. There was no thing, we can do this without. But we also go into other astrologies. So you basically, as much as you want to have a full understanding in bite sizes of world astrologies, we go totally comprehensive with that. But because I'm matching sidereal, overlapping sidereal with tropical. Now this doesn't stay true all the time because the sun lasts in Virgo for like a month and a half, right? So this needs some revising. But the mid days of any month, this has proven true. There's a concentration of energy for each house as you move through it, and it affects the activities that you're doing in that month. So there is a way to structure in this experience of doing this workbook what can be accomplished in the 13 months. I can guarantee what's going to be processing for you in what month, at what time, and how heavy the workload's going to be. Okay, so that absolutely, and then and what we do is, if it's whatever your goals are, and usually it's probably going to be fairly holistic. Okay, there's heavily magic, yes, but if there are financial goals, if there are spiritual goals, if there are relationship goals, probably all together, then you're going to meet guides you didn't know you had. You're going to get stronger with the ones that you know you do have. You're going to collect so much evidence. You're going to do review. You're going to figure out exactly, you're going to get so much affirmation, and you're going to get so much clarity by the end of it and then you're not only clarity, but everything shifts in your life to answer to this book. It hinges on the work, absolutely. You can work with your own charts if you want, but I can build a chart for you as well. I do a couple of versions. This is the old version that I have to walk away from. But I can do a simple version with basic placements of each house, yes. I can do a complex version where this includes all the aspects, yes. These little ones are your planet placements, yes, okay. And then I mark your planets in the nakshatras, and we study according to that as well, right? But here's where I have actually worked, and I've edited the photos. Again, I've edited them because you're going to find that there are images, and if we work with a deck, you can even choose the deck and tell me what deck means the most to you personally, because this one is a very personal deck to me, the Morgan Greer's. So there are motifs in these cards that speak to me personally about certain people and certain events, right? And you get clear on your purpose, and the cards will actually, like the positions actually line up to give you even more insight into yourself. This takes time to do. This is so, you know how much information there is in your astrology. So to give it 13 months to work through it, they've given me guides, Kali in particular, have given me such an awesome way to process it all It's not easy. It does take time. You're going to need, on average, you need about 20 minutes a day to fill in the journal, right? And a couple of hours a week for the tasks per week, okay? So these are, and this is to show, so we can set this up. I'd need to do this sometime in March, by March, because it starts in April, okay? Those are a few houses that I've done there. All right, where can I put this? Hang on a second here. Then we work in preparation in March. You work on, well, I mean, you can cram it in as you go as well. It's probably a good idea to have this on hand in March, but the cycles, the planet cycles, and what they mean, and matching them up with years in your life. So Pluto every 20 years, okay? And you keep track of events, and then we line them up with tarot placements, all the aspects, right? Okay? So that alone tells you enough about yourself, even to start, okay? But I also take you into resources. There are links to things that I have researched that I find to be very helpful. You'll have your own resources, but just in case you don't, then I've added links, okay? And I keep coming back to these pages as I go. It takes about 1 package of paper. I work with the legal size paper because that's my favorite. That's my favorite work size to use. I get the cheap ink from Amazon. I got a bunch of it. I used to use Canon, but if you get it printed off, I would print as you go. I wouldn't worry about, I don't print everything off all at once. I print the pages as I need them. I didn't print all the pages that are in the book. If I don't need them, I don't print them. And so then that's the first part, okay? Then then here's how we head in. Now we don't actually do this summary of all the water houses until the end, okay? But I just put it here so that we've got clarity on where we're going with this, okay? But we do, by the end, coordinate things to do comparisons and to get the bigger picture as much as we can. There's only so much you can allow to, you don't push to try to understand everything. You do an approximate, right? And you try to have as much fun as possible. And just whatever they want you to know, they will put you through a full Scorpio experience when we're studying Scorpius and Scorpio. They'll put you through a full Cancer. Like, there will be things that happen in your life during that month that match what you need to know about that month, okay? So this is an example of that photo diary. That was the easiest photo diary. We do a predictive reading. There are links to resources that I found that are specific to each house that you can go into. Sometimes I write out the notes. Sometimes I go back and I print photo references. You'll see, okay? We chart. We keep track of if the planet placements in the calendar from the chart that I've used, how accurate they are. And then we make note of major events. But we check to see where the sun actually is, and that's how I ended up creating the correct zodiac, or as correct as it can be, right? Was by monitoring. And then things that see how the energies affect, okay? So we work with examining, observing, right? And then making notes to see how predictive we can get ourselves, right? So that's for every month. Now, what's really genius for me about this experience is in this column. Now there's things you need to do today, things that are unexpected, new and unexpected in that day, and then the mood, okay? And then of course financials. The mood I find is the most helpful because it's in the context of this whole thing. Charting my moods and being my own therapist in this. I find that extremely healing, and pulling it all together. What happens is I usually leave this section blank until the end of the month for all the weeks. Then I go back, I review everything, and I look to see what was actually happening. Do the review period, right? To see what was actually happening, and that's where you actually start to pull things together that shock you. You write what you can about what that day was like. Yes? And you get specific and you name names. You have to trust. You have to trust that you are protected in this process, okay? And it's just, I can't say enough how much that's worked for me. I've worked with other journals before, so I put a lot of effort into figuring out what is meaningful in it, since we have to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat for 13 months what we're putting into these pages. Yeah, you want to write things that you're going to go back and read. You don't want to write and then go, I can't go back and figure that out. That, you know, no, I go back and I actually want to reread everything that's in here. So then we get into the season of the house and how it affects the big picture for everybody, right? And what we're going through in that season, what houses you're in, and what planets are in that season for you and all that, right? What it's like, what the energies are like. Okay, we do this for each house. Okay. Do that the first week, right? And again, keeping track. Then we work into the constellation. Now, this isn't the most exciting constellation work of everything. I'll show you more exciting as we get into it. This was me getting warmed up here. But research what other people have to see. Even this is where it gets really interesting for the constellation and for the sign, to dig into world cultures, to dig into the truth, right? We're not looking just to buy into what we've been told. We're looking to get scientific about things. More and more I find what different objects are going on in here, and the science of the sky starts to really help to shape, and especially historically or with other cultures, because it's either true or it's not true that these energies affect us, right? And it's amazing. Again, can't get over. I can't get over. Then, of course, we do getting into, now this would be modified for the new chart. I've added Nakshatras questions into, and placements into these questions, okay? But we do a full, you do a full analysis to get an idea of what that house is all about for you, and those planets and those placements, right? And the aspects. Okay, then an overview of what you think that is going on for you in that house and where you're going with it, okay? Right? And so that is how we carry on. And I'll just flip through. See, it's like sometimes I edit more and more images in. I go in and reprint, or I wait to print that page until I edit it in. It's a PDF. So again, one package of paper and one box of ink. The color, the magenta from the cheap ink has been proven to be, the yellows tend to be a little pink, but by and large, not an issue. So the work, you can put more or less into it. I have Jupiter in Gemini, so I put more, but then that gives me a lot to help you with in terms of sparing you maybe some legwork. I do it myself. Again, and I've come across, I've built up, and I share a huge, basically, well, not huge, but a really solid set of resources, other channels, other websites that are proving themselves again and again. Okay, so that's, then we get in, yeah, so the air. Now, photojournals are, yeah, kind of missing here. Is there anything else I can point out, though? We get through all of that. What is really amazing is when we get to, now I'm going right past, I see Virgo there. I see Virgo, okay? And I just gotta get past Aquarius here. All right. What I want to do is, group sessions on Patreon or YouTube, but probably starting on Patreon. When we hit Virgo, we're going to hit Virgo first, and we hit Virgo, the way they organized it is that we hit Virgo during Virgo season. And then there's this huge overlap of heavy work energy. So, and Virgo is all Time Lord stuff. It's all time sensitive stuff, both in Virgo and in Hasta, the Nakshatra in particular, that hits there. So they catch you up in real time once we hit Virgo season. And then Virgo season ends up lasting till the end of October, straight till November 1st. And what we've learned about Libra at that time, which is the path to heaven, and there's a lot of truth. Like, I don't shy away from digging through all the Great White Brotherhood stuff and getting into the truth of what we got from Africa and what we got from Asia, India, okay? So once we hit the real time, then there's basically this steady climb, right through the earth energy, this deep magic, and we do the root work. Whenever you hit your second house is when you're going to do a lot of root work. So there's stuff that I can predict in terms of flow for you, how easy or difficult. We're going to hit the Taurus void. We're going to hit the Capricornus void, this dark territory. I love dark. Dark you need as much as you need light. And I don't mean that dark equals bad and light equals good. I'm totally against that. Those are not, though dark and light are on a spectrum, but good and bad is not for me. There's wrong and there's right. And I don't mean to be simplistic about it, but no. So using cards to interpret the chart, mapping them out. This is all information from Vidya Mitra that I got into. So lots of root work. For me, it hit at this point, but that's because my second house is in Sagittarius. So whenever we hit Sagittarius energy is when we're going to hit the root work energy, okay? And so we're going to dig deep, 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 deep into everything. We're going to pull out all the stuff that needs to be pulled out. And it's all on schedule. It all happens exactly when it's supposed to happen. So there's a way that you can look ahead at what's been charted in the book and know that if you were wanting a thing to happen sooner, it's not going to happen sooner. It's going to happen when it was charted to happen in the book, right? In that overlap page. So anyway, see how I start to get a little more visual, right? So that's what you can do as well, okay? But you don't have to, if it's not your thing, then you keep notes however you want to keep notes, okay? And they bring in all kinds of amazing, the way other people in your life influence you, what they bring in, okay? So we get through all of that. Yes, we're going to get to a period of total exhaustion by the time you're done 10th house, because it is what it is. It's all about getting exhausted and then getting the fresh start. But I guarantee. So then what we do in the 13th month, in the 13th month is that overlap month, okay? And I thought it would be good, and it's the fire element. Oh, we're not there yet, okay. Now the fire element story is still waiting for me to finish it, okay? I've done Leo, and Leo is actually where I started. I came up with the final chart. We came through on the whole creative thing in Leo, absolutely. So, but there's a lot of money when we get to 5th house, and even in Virgo as well. We're dealing with a nakshatra that has to do with money karma, and parental and ancestral baggage. Okay, so this is by the time we reach here. That's what's getting cleared up. You've got all your groundwork underneath you, and it's called, then we start to separate what's yours from what's theirs. And everything starts to just shift, and then you shift into this energy of wonderful emotional separation, like in the most positive way, yes? And then this expressiveness comes through. Everything starts to gel. You've done the prep work. Everything that you've put into the book starts to actually shape your life. That's what's going to happen. Early incarnations, yes. Mansion era energy. This is specific to Leo and Leo Nakshatras again. So, and then building that idea of how the energies, again, by having charted, knowing very much in real time how these energies have affected you as the planets move through space as around us, right? As we're moving together, as they move through the constellations. What does it mean to you personally? Now you have a database of knowing, and you can't remember everything all the time, but you know that you have the notes. All right, so then now once we hit, no, I'm not even there yet. Where did it go? Arrival. How did I lose everything? I left something behind. I left half the book behind. Okay, hang on. Okay, so there's that much book. There's that much book. Photo diary again. But putting it all in real time, okay? So all of a sudden we go from being in some other house during some other month. Now we've done it in Virgo, yes, but here we'll do it again. So we'll be in Aries, Pisces within, and then we're moving into Taurus within the April, yeah? So putting it into play, what does that mean? It means we're still keeping the journal, yes. And it'll be interesting to see where your finances are, if they need to be improved at this point versus where they were a year earlier, okay? But here's what I mean, where what we keep track of changes, yes? And so that's I find that, and then what I'll do is once we've got past that, if you want to carry on with this, I'll have another journal available that will keep going with this, yes? Because you don't need to keep doing the planet work necessarily the same way. So you can carry on for as long as you want, year after year, by tracking. You probably don't always want to do that. So there's probably going to be even a third incarnation of what to do, right? But maybe. But I wouldn't be surprised if we need a third book after this. But that's what we do. What it all means, and I can probably shrink that so you have more room to write. I find sometimes the print is a little big, so I'll be modifying that for the next version, okay? And then, if there's anything that's left as a question mark, left as any kind of dissatisfaction, or just left as, well, again, a question mark, then we talk about it, we bring it up, we get into it, and I help you solve it so that you have a sense of solidness about the whole experience. So that's what's coming up. The book will be available soon, but if you're interested at all, if you've come this far in listening to it, if you want to leave me a comment or email me at pinkspidertarot@gmail.com, then we can get you set up with your own copy and your own whatever chart you want to use that I can edit into it. I'll edit the chart into the book so that you can print it all together. You don't have to edit in yourself. So that can either be somebody else's chart. I use AstroSeek. But if you want me to create a chart for you as well, I'll need to do that. I'll need about $40 to do that. That takes up some time, but otherwise the book is free. The book itself is a free download. So you can do whatever you want with it. You can work with it on your own. You don't need to sign up. There's a full list. Again, the video series is already up on YouTube from this past year. So if you want just to go back and reference that when you're working on yours, the information won't be that different. We'll do a predictive card read for the beginning of each month. And I do meditations. I take photos of the card read that I do. We use Japanese deck, an Eastern India deck. That's what I used this year at the Tattoo Tarot. And do a simple read, few cards, and I use the major arcana from the Japanese and the India deck as the oracles. And then I photograph them and I do a meditation on them to music, and get that posted, so that there's something just to go back to. And with that, we actually put the focus on learning how to interpret the cards in a predictive way, right? Like, they actually obscure for me at the beginning of the month when I do the read. They don't want me to actually be too clear on what they're telling me. They want us to track and trace. Sorry. They want us to track what the cards are and how they're playing out in the month. So there's even that. We go back and we review the prediction that was given to us. And of course, you're going to bring in other predictions from other readers. And I build those into my photo diary. I build those into my notes. And you end up with a huge database for yourself of communications from your guides, how it's manifested in your life, what it means, like you can look at your chart. By the time you're done, you look at your chart and you know what you're looking at. And nobody else needs to look at it for you. You've spent the time yourself, you've internalized the knowledge, you're emotionally connected to it. And even if, let's say you glance at it and you're like, oh my God, it still looks like a hot mess. You know that if you sit with it, you are fully capable of digging into what the heck's going on, why is it happening, what the trajectory is, okay? But usually the big picture is so significant and you're going to be overwhelmed with how important you are in what specific ways. And I can tell you that Kali is definitely part of the experience for everybody. If you are a fan of Jesus, then I wouldn't even be surprised if there's a crossover there. But I come crossover. Good one, Kristen. I come from a heavily Christian background, but it's Kali who appeared to me. But I also work deeply with the Orisha. So whoever, and again, especially through Mel Brown, the Aboriginal healer in Australia, her decks. So Grandmother Spider, because I'm Pink Spider, Spider ties me to Grandmother Spider, Spider Woman, and Kali, in particular. And so I can guarantee that they're on this journey with you. The Orisha are in my life because I have missionary relatives that tortured Nigeria, but they brought stuff to me, and they brought Nigeria to me, and they brought the Orisha to me. They didn't mean to, but they did. But the Orisha meant for them to. Animal spirits, animal oracles. And what I haven't been clear on yet, because they wanted me to come up with a specific habitat, and then it gives us, because of the houses. Now, so again, Scorpius submarine, okay? Everything that comes with that. But then even getting into the Nakshatras, there are different qualities to that energy. Houseboat Cancer. And it all has proven true. Like it's tested. I've tested it out month for month with each of these. Cruise ship Pisces. Embassy compound Libra. Libra are the cleanup crew of the zodiac, absolutely, but the cultural ambassadors. Okay, penthouse Gemini. The storm. Travel hostile Aquarius. 8 star. 8 star, it's actually, the 8 star is chaos magic, but yes, the 8 star, because the star in the Aquarius card, in the star card, yes, it has 8 points, which is the chaos magic, the creative chaos magic star. But that's why 8 star travel hostile. Lighthouse Virgo. Now the joke is, in Virgo, this is why it's time sensitive, is I found out by the time I got to Virgo, I found out by watching the video that I had listed as the reference video, that lighthouse keepers were put out of work 20 years ago or more. Everything went automated. And I was like, shit, I gotta get Virgo a new house. No, Virgo's house is time, space sensitive. Absolutely. So there's round tent Taurus, the flow. Exotic outpost in Capricorn. Capricornus, the exotic outpost. Spaceship Leo. Now Leo, even with the formatting for the printing, it went out the boundaries. Space Station Aries, where you're going to find all of these different gateways, yeah? And then we end up with Space Pod Sagittarius. So that's the journey. It's basically absolutely a travel journey, and it's actually, you feel like you've moved through the universe by the time we're done. So I'm like a tour guide is what I am, a comprehensive tour guide. So I hope this has given you some sense of adventure, and And if we meet up on this journey, I would be really excited about that. Okay, signing off now. Much love.